What's the news freaking out about closer to home?
Friday night massacre.
Late Friday night purge. A chilling purge.
The purge.
Ah! Trump has ushered in the purge! I for one... I, for one, will take full advantage by doing some unpermitted lawn work. Yo, God is powerless. Although, just in case I'm misinterpreting, what is this purge about exactly?
Breaking news, the mass firing of government agency watchdogs.
Trump fired at least 17 inspectors general.
No! He got rid of 17 inspectors general. That only leaves no one knows how many left. I have no idea. Oh, I'm sorry, did I break the illusion? No. You know, here's the nice thing at home. You don't know if that's the axe or my desk. Which one is fake? I'll never tell. The point is, we have 17 less inspectors general. Who knows how many generals will now go uninspected? Democrats, inspire my anger in the least charismatic way possible.
Donald Trump's decision to fire 12 of the federal government's independent watchdogs is a glaring sign that it's a golden age. And Donald Trump's decision to fire 12 of the federal government's independent watchdogs is a glaring sign that it's a golden age for abuse in government and even corruption.
He started again, right? He said it twice? Like, no recognition, just started again. Is that what happened? Normally, humans in that scenario would go, oh, God, I'm sorry, what, where was I? Let me take that from the top, and maybe this time I'll look up. Can you legally just restart without acknowledgement? Is Schumer AI? Is he DeepSeek? But regardless of how slowly NPC Chuck Schumer laid it out, what Trump did violated the law. He can't just fire these people.
Title V, Section 403 of the U.S. Code, federal law, an inspector general may be removed by the president.
What? So what's the purge? What's the Why do I have an axe?
There is a specific law that requires notice, 30 days, and a statement of reasons, substantive and detailed rationale.
What? I'm sorry, what? Oh, apparently you can fire them, but you have to give them 30 days notice. Oh, so that's what we're upset about? No! You can do it, but not in that font! That's Hitler's font! But this is the cycle we find ourselves in. First law of Trumpodynamics. Every action is met with a very not equal overreaction, thus throwing off our ability to know when shit is actually getting real. Like last week's pardons.
These pardons are sick. They are offensive. They are un-American.
This is one of the most egregious, despicable acts in American history.
This is textbook authoritarian takeover 101.
I knew I should have taken that class. And not majored in submissive liberal crying 101. Oh, do what you will, Trumpisky. Was it shitty? Yes. Should you have let some of those terrible people? No. Is it an abuse of pardon power? I don't know. But that is his constitutional power. Again, for some reason, we have given presidents the power of a king. And then we say, oh, by the way, with that power, you're not going to get all like kingly and shit on us, right? To put that in constitutional terms, if I could, don't hate the player, hate the founding fathers. That's not... Why do we even have it? Because I don't know if you've met Donald Trump. He pushes shit.
President Trump deploying executive action to end birthright citizenship.
This unconstitutional, un-American attack.
Shredding our Constitution.
Wants to be a strongman authoritarian.
Birthright citizenship was very specifically tailored to send a message to people that America was a place, an idea. It wasn't for one race. It wasn't for one gender. Citizenship in America was based on where you were, not who you were. And to just stroke of a pen, finally I agree. That is authoritarian.
We do begin tonight with the federal judge blocking President Trump's executive order that would end birthright citizenship.
And we're back. See how easy that was? It was a dictatorship, and then the judge went, It's like when you have an electric fence. You never check it, and you're not really sure if it works. Because you have a good boy. You have a very good boy. But then one day, zap. By the way, I fundamentally disagree with the use of electric fences. It is true. I prefer to discipline my dogs with a series of passive-aggressive comments about their weight. Really tearing through the bowl tonight, huh? Take a breath, Tubbs. It's called kibble, not gobble. By the way, my dog's name is Tubbs. Anyway, birthright citizenship is back!
No, obviously we'll appeal it.
Damn you, constitutionally enshrined judicial review of executive action and its relief through the appellate process. Look, we are facing a deluge of these executive actions, and certainly we must be prepared for those most vulnerable to the consequences of these actions. But the "this is all fascist" argument has become almost a reflex for the left.
Donald Trump promised to be a dictator on day one, and he's carried that forward through the entire week.
5 days into this administration, the abuse is already rampant.
Throughout the rest of the week, shredding the Constitution as he went.
On a fascism scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being peak fascism, how would you rate Trump's first week?
Scale of Mussolini to the Holocaust. I would say it's not fascism. Do I not understand what fascism is? And also, if I may, and this may be petty, why are we asking someone who, at the end of January, still has his Christmas tree up? Why are we asking him anything? You know who used to leave their Christmas tree up all the time? Hitler. Somebody in the audience literally jumped my Hitler joke. You know who used to do that, by the way? Pol Pot. Now look, I have a lot of fear that as this term goes on, things are going to get a little fascisty. And we must be vigilant. But part of vigilance is discernment. Republicans control the House, the Senate, the executive, and the judiciary. And just about every move that has been made till this point, we have granted them electorally. It's our f***ing fault. And the constant it's just our fault. The constant drumbeat of encroaching fascism will erode the credibility we will need if, hopefully if, and not when, it hits. But the truth is that for now, his most objectionable actions have taken place almost entirely within our designed democratic system. Like the confirmation process. Despite claims of meritocracy, Trump has put forth some of the least LinkedIn people you could imagine. I don't know what responsible hiring process you can create that looks at this.
I'm going to get another refill. Hold on.
I'm feeling good. You know, I'm just adding a little bit of extra. It's already in there anyway. What do we care?
Down goes Seth. Duncan Dad on New Year's Eve.
Who's that guy? I want him leading defense. And how did this individual, who has never so much as successfully managed a Waffle House pop-up, gonna run the 3 million people Department of Defense? But he wasn't foisted upon us by a dictator. There was no authoritarian end run, no royal edicts. This shit happened to us as designed, advised, but mostly consent. Passed through the Armed Services Committee, put through a Senate vote. 3 Republicans, of course, made a show of, this is the most outrageous, I cannot in good conscience, because they knew they could lose 3. It was a f***ing performance. And J.D. Vance broke the tie democratically. Trump's using the almost absolute power we have constitutionally granted him and the Republicans. Because this is Trump's theory in governance. He's already laid it out to not President Bush in 2005, back when he was still accessing Hollywood.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy.
That's his governing philosophy. For all of it. Appointing people, firing people, writing executive orders, taking Greenland, making Wikipedia-like edits to the literal globe. But unfortunately, as of now, he's pretty much just democratically grabbing our pussy. Yeah, we said yeah. He has the consent of the people. For God's sakes, his deportation orders are so popular, they have collabs.
TV personality Dr. Phil tagged along on a Chicago raid.
You've never been deported before?
Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, you know, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you know me? You've been in one thing. How do you know I'm Dr. Phil? Because you're on the Dr. Phil show. You're Dr. Phil. How do you know me? Oh, weren't you in Goodfellas? No, you're Dr. Phil. I'd know that little egghead anywhere. Little bald mustache, southern drawl. What are you doing? How do you know me? That picture. I guess Dr. Phil finally cashed someone outside. How about that? Wait, no. Let me finish. We're almost done. Look, the Trump administration was clearly ready for this. It was almost as though they had some project for what they might do in 2025. And they're so emboldened, they're not even stopping on American shores.
The president said he thought more than 1 million Palestinians in Gaza could be moved to nearby Arab countries.
What the f***? He's so emboldened, he wants to start deporting people from other people's countries. Meanwhile, Dr. Phil will be down in Gaza. How you know me? How you know me, sir? Habibi, I don't have a television. I don't know you. I don't know, Habibi. Look, I really hope the Democrats figure out a way to contain this guy. The question is probably not, how dare he, though? The question should be, what are you learning from this? How would you use this power? What's your contract with America? Democrats, exist outside of him. Tell people what you would do with the power that Trump is wielding, and then convince us to give that power to you as soon as possible. That's the goal. It's enough with the, he's a Hitler, he's a thing, stop doing it, that's terrible. What would you do? And if not, you know what? If you don't have any of the answers, maybe AI has a solution for you. Hey, Siri, what can Democrats do to stop Trump?
他们不必担心，乔恩，我们中国的统治者很快就会解决我们所有的问题。
It's too late!
Because while the press was attending the roast of Joe Biden, Donald Trump was busy getting our military in shape so he can finally fulfill our country's month-old dream of conquering Greenland. And first, we're going to need to have as many troops as possible.
President Trump has signed several executive orders to reshape the military, including directive banning transgender service members.
Okay, did I say as many troops? I mean fewer troops, right? You know what they say in the Army, less is more. Look, maybe they don't say that. I don't know, but that's... Look, I don't have a problem with transgender soldiers. As someone who pees himself anytime he hears a loud noise, I think we should be grateful to anyone who's willing to put their life on the line so I don't have to. But hey, yeah, okay. But I'm open-minded about being closed-minded, so what's the issue here?
President Trump signed an executive order calling transgender people unfit to serve.
One part says being transgender is, quote, not consistent with the humility and selflessness required of a service member.
Another says being trans conflicts with, quote, an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle, even in one's personal life.
Yeah, well, look, you know, it makes sense that the military has to be honorable, truthful, and disciplined. You know, sure, this is your Secretary of Defense, but that's all the more reason... That's all the more reason that the rest of them have to have their shit together. It's like how every Beatles album had to be packed with hits to make up for that one song that Ringo wrote about wanting to f*** an octopus or whatever. I gotta say, the military sure has a lot of ethical rules for their mission of killing people. Hey, you want to blow some guy's head off? You better say please and thank you. But to be fair, Trump had another argument against trans soldiers as well.
They specifically cite readiness with transition surgeries. If you have a transition surgery, the recovery time and the narcotics that you have to be on as part of the process could affect your readiness for up to 12 months.
Oh, up to 12 months. Do you know how long our wars last? I think they'll have you back in the game in no time. Vietnam War, 11 years. Afghanistan War, 20 years. Even our storage wars last 15 seasons. First of all, transgender people make up 0.1% of the military. So, Commander-in-Chief, you're ruining the lives of people who are dedicated to serving America while doing nothing to affect the larger military. I don't see why a transition surgery should affect readiness more than any other surgery. Trump is acting like they're doing transition surgeries on the front lines. Medic! I need a medic over here. We got to get this guy a labia, stat! Also, what do you mean, readiness? Modern war is just telling a drone to drop bombs. Pretty sure it doesn't matter what your sex is to go like this. That's how they drop bombs. But Trump isn't just doing bad things to good people, he's also doing good things to bad people. It's been a week since he pardoned everyone who had a normal tourist visit to the Capitol on January 6th, and I'm sure they're making the most of their second chance, right?
A man pardoned by President Trump for his role in the January 6th riot was shot and killed by an Indiana deputy during a traffic stop.
Okay, well, except for that guy. Yeah, I mean, that guy really wasted a presidential pardon. Look, if I ever get a presidential pardon, I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to get shot to death. So what exactly happened there?
Police say the deputy tried to arrest Matthew Huddle on Sunday, but he resisted and the deputy shot him. Investigators say Huddle had a gun.
A routine traffic stop ending in the police shooting a man they claimed had a gun. Ordinarily, this is the kind of thing liberals would cry police brutality. But if it's a January 6er, I have a feeling they're going to be like, oh, look, we need to back the blue on this one. Liberals are getting so much whiplash trying to decide if this cop is bad or good. Rachel Maddow is going to be in a neck brace. But aside from the ones who are dead, all the rest of the January 6 rioters who Trump released from prison must be so happy right now.
Houston authorities are trying to find a man pardoned by Donald Trump for his role in the January 6th riots. Andrew Tate is wanted for a 2016 charge of a solicitation of a minor.
Okay, well, not that guy also. But stop. But look, any group as large as the January 6th crowd is going to have one sex creep in it. There's probably one in our audience right now. Raise your hand if you're a sex creep. That guy in the plaid shirt, that woman. Sir, come on. The point is, all the rest of the partners they're fine. They're doing fine.
A Mint Hill man who pleaded guilty to his involvement in January 6th is possibly facing other charges. Court documents show David Daniel is facing child pornography charges.
Wait, what? I'm starting to worry that the people who broke into the Capitol and took a shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk are not upstanding citizens. You know what? Forget about those two pedophiles.
Andrew Kyle Grigsby of Louisville, who was pardoned for spraying Capitol Police with bear spray, is currently incarcerated in a Kentucky prison for 2 counts of child pornography.
Jesus Christ! At this point, it might have been better for them just to stay in prison, At least then they were heroes. Now they're all going to individual prisons for child pornography. Do you guys have a choir? Today was the world's weirdest episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, also known as Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation hearing to lead the Department of Health. And look, we all remember the stories about this guy from the campaign, the dead bear cub he dumped in Central Park, the time he sawed off the head of a dead whale and tied it to the roof of his car, the worm that died after eating part of his brain. Basically, if there's an animal corpse anywhere in America, RFK Jr. is probably involved. But what most people are most concerned about when it comes to RFK Jr. is his long history of speaking out against vaccines. And I'm not talking your run-of-the-mill concerns like, should I still get a flu shot if I don't care about getting other people sick? Or do I need an HPV vaccine if I only do hand stuff? I'm talking about RFK Jr. saying things like autism is caused by vaccines, or that it's just not true that vaccines are why smallpox, measles, and polio were eradicated, or that there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. Basically, putting this guy in charge of America's vaccines is like making Elon Musk a Walmart greeter. Honestly, I'm going to tell RFK Jr. the same thing I tell myself every morning before I host The Daily Show. You are not qualified for this job. Don't clap at that. Don't clap at that. Don't clap at that. Shit. You're clapping because I am. And that's why medical experts around the country are sounding the alarm.
Ahead of the hearings, more than 15,000 doctors have signed a letter urging senators to vote against confirming him.
Whoa, 15,000 doctors signed this letter. Of course, we don't know who they are because they all just signed it like this. But that's a big number. And even his own family is coming out against him, not only because of his medical views, he's also just not right in the old worm chamber.
Caroline Kennedy, RFK Jr.'s first cousin, and the daughter of President John F. Kennedy, warning the senators tasked with confirming her cousin to be the nation's health secretary that they should vote no.
I've known Bobby my whole life. We grew up together. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator. His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action.
Center of the action. Cool dorm room. What's wrong with that? All right? And while you answer, I'll just take a sip of this delicious-looking smoothie that RFK Jr. sent me.
His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action, where drugs were available, and he enjoyed showing off how he put baby chickens and mice in a blender to feed to his hawks.
He was putting baby chickens and mice in a blender? And ladies, you thought it was bad when a guy brought you back to his dorm room and busted out a guitar. Now, I'm not sure her statement will have much sway because, first of all, blending food, that's just how you feed a hawk. If you've ever looked at their nests, you see they have a little NutriBullet right in there. And also, we all have a crazy cousin. It's the cousin rule of 3, right? There's a crazy one, a quiet one, and one that we secretly think is hot. What's up, Stephanie? But for real, are there no stories where Kennedy interacts with an animal like a normal person? Just once I want someone to be like, yeah, one time RFK went up to a dog and rubbed his belly. Instead, every story's like, and that's when RFK kicked a miniature horse in his vagina. But with all this baggage, his vagina, but with all this baggage, RFK Jr. had one important thing he had to do when he sat down for his hearing today. Just try and sound slightly normal for like 2 hours. Take it away, Bobby. What do you really believe about vaccines?
I believe that that vaccines play a critical role in healthcare. All of my kids are vaccinated.
Man, that velvet voice is good enough for me. What are you going to believe? His well-documented, decades-long record, or the thing he said today when he was trying to get a job? Besides, all his kids are vaccinated. He definitely doesn't regret that, right? Right? Right?
What would I do if I could go back in time and I could avoid giving my children the vaccines that I gave them? I would do anything for that. I would pay anything to be able to do that.
That is the worst answer to what you would do with a time machine that I have ever heard. You can't think of anyone else in your family that you would go back in time and try to prevent a shot from happening? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., no one else? Which reminds me, you know what I've done if I would have had a time machine? I would have gone back and made sure Stephanie and I weren't cousins. What's up, Stephanie? All right, let's get back on track because Kennedy was trying to present himself as a new man, but a lot of senators seem determined to make sure he didn't run too far from his past.
Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people?
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted.
Did you write in your book, and it's undeniable, that African AIDS is an entirely different disease from Western AIDS? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm not sure if I made that.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. This guy has said so many things that he can't remember if he said black AIDS is different from white AIDS. White AIDS is so bland. And they put raisins in it. Don't bring that white AIDS to my cookout. This is... You guys aren't sure how to react to the voice? This is the story of the hearing. Senators would question him on past statements, and he would deny them. Now, one senator, though, actually brought receipts, adorable receipts.
Your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
Wow. Wow. I never realized how much I would enjoy Bernie Sanders talking about baby clothes. And these little corduroy dungarees, why do they have pockets? A baby doesn't need to carry around a wallet or car keys. Do you support that? Trump's been busy these last few days. Signing orders, reinstalling the Diet Coke button, grabbing Panama by the canal. But it was only a matter of time until he had to start presidenting for real. This morning, he held a press conference to address the tragic plane crash in Washington, D.C. last night. And remember, one of the most important things a leader can do in a rapidly developing, difficult situation is to calm people down, stick to the facts, and keep your uninformed opinions to yourself.
We do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now.
I mean, or we can just speculate wildly. Why not? I get a little bit nervous when Trump has a strong opinion. You know, it's never something unifying, like sunsets are beautiful or love is the answer. But this is a new term, and he's only a few days in, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. What's Trump's opinion about what happened in D.C.?
The FAA's diversity push, a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. The agency's guidance on diversity hiring, the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan.
Damn you, diversity initiatives. Why are you responsible for every historical tragedy? The fires in Los Angeles, DEI. The bridge collapse in Baltimore, DEI. The Irish potato famine, DEI. Slavery, DEI. Did you ever notice how many minorities were at slavery? It's all DEI. Just to be clear, Mr. President, you have evidence that diversity initiatives are responsible for this tragic crash. You're not just saying this, right? Right?
I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense.
There you go. No. There you go. There you go. He has common sense. It's just a coincidence that his common sense happens to align with his long-held prejudices. So let's spin the big wheel of blame to see which minorities are responsible for this crash. Who will it be this time? Black people, lesbians, trans Armenians?
The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative. They include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, and dwarfism.
Dwarfism? I can't believe it. It's only day 10 and Trump is already this far down his list of scapegoats. He's blown past race and gender and now he's hitting dwarves? Is he really suggesting there was a plane crash because someone with dwarfism worked in air traffic control? Does Trump think they couldn't see the control panel and they were just reaching up and pushing buttons, hoping it would work out? Hold on. I just want to say that people with dwarfism are just like everyone else. In fact, their penises are normal size. Which means proportionally, they're huge. So in a way, you could say that I'm the one looking up to them. That's a thinker. That's a thinker. A lot of different layers in there. You might be thinking, well, that's progress. You know, he used to blame everything on past administrations, but don't worry, he got them in there too.
We had a very good policy, and then Biden came in and he changed it, and Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. You know how badly everything's run since he's run the Department of Transportation? Obama, Biden, and the Democrats, they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary.
I'm sorry. You're blaming Obama? The guy from 3 presidents ago? Forget blaming a fart on your dog. This is blaming the fart on your dog that died when you were 8. I still think about you, Henry. Such stinky farts you had. Look, Mr. President, I know you're scared that people might hold you responsible now that you're president, because you're the president, Mr. President. And it's time to just be a man, okay? Real men don't point fingers. Real men find solutions. Real men show leadership. Real men moisturize. Guys, you got to take care of your skin. You got to take care of your skin. Yeah. The skin is the biggest organ on the body. Unless you're a dwarf, then it's the second biggest. Okay. Gotcha there. All right, let's move on, okay? Because while Trump is demanding meritocracy in government, he's trying to fill his cabinet with a whole bunch of just real geniuses. Today, the Senate held hearings for Kash Patel, who Trump wants to lead the FBI, because of qualifications like this.
My name is Kash Patel, and I have written the first ever children's Russiagate book. It's called The Plot Against the King. It is a fantastical telling by me, the Russiagate chief investigator.
Wow. I mean, that's a great reason to not teach your kids to read. At the same time, the Senate held hearings for Tulsi Gabbard, who Trump wants as director of national intelligence, even though she's friendly with dictators like Bashar al-Assad and looks like the head of the Galactic Council in a bad sci-fi movie.